Okay, so get this. Romania just had its presidential election, like, completely overturned. I'm talking annulled, the whole thing gone.
Really?
Yeah, a far-right candidate,
Ah,
Khalid George Jesus,
okay.
basically came out of nowhere, ran his campaign, mostly on TikTok,
Interesting.
and somehow won the first round.
You're kidding?
Nope.
Wow.
And then the Constitutional Court steps in saying they need to make sure everything was correct and legal. But wait, there's more.
More.
That's not even the craziest part.
Oh, boy.
There are allegations of foreign interference,
Oh, wow.
possibly even from Russia.
Seriously?
Cyber attacks, a coordinated campaign on TikTok, all aimed at influencing the election. So today we're going deep into this whole Romanian election saga. What led to this political earthquake? Was there really foreign interference? And what does this all mean for Romania's future?
Well, to appreciate just how shocking this all is, let's start with Jesus himself. Before this election, he was practically invisible on the political scene.
And then, boom, front runner.
Right. Seemingly overnight.
It's crazy.
It is.
And his platform, I mean, ending aid to Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's a bold move, especially considering
a bold move.
especially considering the current global situation.
Absolutely.
Right.
And his skepticism towards NATO.
Yeah,
That's a significant departure from the mainstream political discourse in Romania.
definitely.
It really taps into a certain level of disillusionment and distrust that exists
Oh, for sure.
in some segments of society.
Yeah.
So,
And then things get even more chaotic after that first round of voting.
oh, really?
Intelligence reports start circulating,
Okay.
suggesting a coordinated influence campaign from outside of Romania. And we're not talking about a few random tweets here.
Right.
This sounds like a well-organized effort
Wow.
to manipulate public opinion.
What's really unprecedented here
Yeah,
is that these intelligence reports were made public.
that's wild.
It is.
Right.
That tells you how seriously the authorities were taking these allegations.
They were basically sending a clear signal.
Like, hey.
We think something fishy's going on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We actually have some incredible reporting from Sarah Rainsford,
Okay.
who's on the ground in Bucharest.
Great.
She was able to capture the immediate reaction
Oh, wow.
to the court's decision to annul the election. And let me tell you, people are divided.
Makes sense.
Elena Goy, who is supposed to face Jesus in the second round, is furious.
Yeah.
She's calling the annulment illegal and a direct threat to democracy.
Goy's reaction is understandable.
Right.
From her perspective, the court's decision sets a dangerous precedent.
Totally.
If an election can be overturned simply because of allegations of interference,
Right.
what's to stop future elections from being challenged on similar grounds?
It's a slippery slope.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, we haven't heard a peep from Jesus himself about the annulment.
Really?
It's like he's vanished into thin air.
Interesting.
I wonder what's going on behind the scenes.
That silence is definitely intriguing.
Is he strategizing his next move?
Is he just hiding?
Is he going to challenge the annulment?
Who knows?
Or is he lying low, hoping the storm will pass?
I guess we'll see.
It's anyone's guess at this point.
Rainsford also talked about the protests that erupted after the news of potential Russian interference broke.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you're living in Romania,
Yep.
a country that fought hard to break free from Soviet influence.
Right.
And suddenly you hear that a foreign power might be trying to sway your elections.
That's got to be unsettling.
I can't even imagine.
Absolutely, for many Romanians.
Yes,
The specter of Russian influence is a very real and deeply concerning issue.
for sure.
It brings back memories of a time when their country's fate was decided by forces outside their control.
Yeah, you're right.
These protests show just how sensitive this issue is for a lot of people.
Now, to be fair,
Yeah.
Jesus has denied any connections to Russia.
Okay.
He's painting himself as a man of the people, a populist who's fighting for the little guy.
That's a classic populist tactic. And it's been surprisingly effective
And has.
in many parts of the world.
You see it everywhere.
Populist leaders often present themselves as outsiders, as the only ones who can truly understand and address the concerns of ordinary people.
Yeah.
Whether that's genuine or just clever political maneuvering is a different question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So where does this leave us? We have a nation on edge, a canceled election allegations, of foreign meddling, and a charismatic yet controversial figure at the heart of it all. This whole thing feels like it was ripped from the pages of a spy novel.
What we're seeing in Romania is like a microcosm of a much larger struggle that's happening globally.
Interesting.
It's a battle between democratic principles,
Uh-huh.
the influence of powerful nations,
Right.
and the ways social media can be used to shape public opinion.
Wow.
It's a high-stakes game with potentially far-reaching consequences.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But before we get into the global implications,
Okay.
let's dive deeper into the situation on the ground in Romania. What are the possible scenarios that could play out now that the election has been annulled?
Yeah, let's get into that.
So the big question now is, what happens next?
Yeah.
Romania is in this political limbo with no clear path forward.
It definitely raises concerns about the stability of democratic institutions.
Yeah.
Not just in Romania,
Yes.
but potentially elsewhere as well.
It's scary to think about.
It is.
So, like, what are the actual next steps?
Well, the first step is probably setting a new date for the election.
Okay.
And making sure the process is transparent and secure.
Right.
They need to address the vulnerabilities that were exposed in this whole alleged interference campaign.
Especially on social media.
Particularly on social media platforms, yes.
It's like someone threw a wrench into the gears of their democracy.
It is a bit like that.
And now they have to figure out how to get everything running smoothly again.
Yeah.
And then there's the big question mark hanging over Jesu's head.
Right.
Will he still be the front runner in this rerun?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I think so.
The annulment and these allegations against him could definitely hurt his image
Yeah. Like,
and lose him some supporters, but there's
yeah.
also a chance he could flip the script
okay.
and play the victim card.
Oh, yeah.
He could try to portray himself as a target of the establishment,
Right.
someone who's being silenced because he's a threat to the status quo.
That's a good strategy.
It can be.
And we've seen it work.
We have.
But even if we set aside the allegations of interference for a moment,
Okay.
Guillaume's platform itself is pretty alarming.
Yeah.
I mean, his far-right views,
Yeah.
his skepticism towards NATO,
Uh-huh.
his stance on Ukraine,
Yeah.
it all points to a potential shift in Romania's geopolitical alignment.
It does.
And that has implications for the entire region.
Exactly. His rhetoric,
Yes.
whether it's genuine or just a calculated strategy,
All right.
taps into a wave of populism
Oh, totally.
that's sweeping across the globe.
We see it everywhere.
It's a mix of nationalism, anti-establishment sentiment,
Yeah.
and a promise of radical change.
Right.
That can be very appealing to people who feel disillusioned
Yeah,
with the current system.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what happens inside Romania's borders.
Right.
If Jesu were to win,
Uh-huh.
it could embolden other populist movements across Europe.
Absolutely.
It could signal that this kind of rhetoric is gaining traction.
Yes.
And that could have a ripple effect on everything from international relations
Right.
to economic policy.
Imagine a domino effect.
Wow, yeah.
Where the success of one populist leader inspires others
Yeah.
to adopt similar tactics and agendas.
That's scary,
It's a scenario that many political analysts are watching very closely.
I bet.
And it's one of the reasons why this Romanian election has become such a focal point.
I can see why.
Yeah.
We also can't ignore the impact that the annulment itself
Right.
will have on the Romanian people's faith in their democracy.
Yeah.
It's like they were given a taste of self-determination,
Uh-huh.
and now it feels like that's being taken away.
It's a difficult situation on one hand.
Yeah.
You have the need to ensure a fair and democratic process,
Right.
which is what the Constitutional Court was aiming for.
Right.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
you have the potential for this to erode public trust
Totally.
and fuel further instability. The court's decision,
Yeah.
while intended to safeguard democracy, ironically throws the country into deeper uncertainty.
Oh, wow.
It raises questions about the rule of law,
Yeah.
the balance of power,
Uh-huh.
and the legitimacy of future elections.
It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
Trying to protect democracy might actually end up weakening it in the long run.
Yeah.
It's a tough balancing act.
It is, and the stakes are incredibly high.
So high.
We're talking about the very foundations of a democratic society.
Wow.
Think about the impact this will have on the people of Romania.
Yeah.
They're the ones who will ultimately bear the brunt of this political turmoil.
Sarah Rainsford painted a pretty vivid picture
Yeah.
of the anxieties on the ground.
It's real.
She talked to people in Bucharest who are genuinely afraid of what all this means for their future.
Understandably so.
They're worried about their country, their freedoms, their livelihoods.
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot.
Imagine living in a country
Yeah.
with a history of authoritarianism just beginning to taste freedom and self-determination.
Right.
Then suddenly there are allegations of a foreign power meddling in your elections,
Man.
potentially tilting the scales in favor of a candidate
Yeah.
with authoritarian leanings.
It's scary.
It's a deeply unsettling scenario.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
It's easy to get caught up in the political drama and the intrigue.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this is about real people's lives.
It is. It's a reminder
Yeah.
that these political events aren't just abstract concepts. They have real-world consequences
Sure.
that affect people on a very personal level.
That's right.
And it's important to remember that when we're analyzing these situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is there any way out of this mess?
I believe there's always hope,
Okay, good.
but it will require a collective effort
Yeah.
from all stakeholders,
Right.
the Romanian people,
Uh-huh.
their political leaders, and the international community.
It's a big problem.
It is.
That's going to require a lot of work from a lot of different people.
It is. The path forward is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But I think the first step is acknowledging the gravity of the situation
Yeah.
and committing to a process
Right.
that is transparent, inclusive,
Right.
and respects the will of the people.
Easier said than done.
It is much easier said than done.
But I guess that's where we have to start.
I think so.
Acknowledging the problem, having open and honest conversations, and working towards solutions.
Exactly. And it's not just about Romania.
What do you mean?
What's happening there should serve as a wake-up call for all of us.
That's interesting.
It's a stark reminder that democracy is fragile and requires constant vigilance.
Definitely.
We can't take it for granted.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
And it's something we should all keep in mind
Yes.
as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century.
Absolutely.
So in this deep dive, we've explored the tumultuous events
Yeah.
surrounding the Romanian presidential election.
Yes.
We've examined the shocking rise of Kali George Jesu,
Uh-huh.
the allegations of foreign interference,
Right?
and the profound anxieties gripping the nation.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
We've delved into the historical context, the political landscape, and the broader implications of what's happening in Romania.
Yeah.
And we've tried to shed light on the human stories behind the headlines.
For the real people.
Yes, the fears and hopes of the Romanian people as they navigate this uncertain terrain.
It's been a roller coaster of emotions, from shock and disbelief to concern and even a bit of fear.
Yeah,
But it's also been a journey of discovery.
absolutely.
A reminder of the importance of critical thinking, informed debate, and active citizenship.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we've laid out all the chaos in Romania.
Yeah.
And now we've got to zoom out and think about what this all means
Right?
for the average person, not just in Romania, but anywhere.
Yeah, that's the crucial question, isn't it? This isn't just about one election in one country.
Right. Where do we even go from here?
It's a wake-up call about the vulnerability of democratic processes worldwide.
You know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all of this,
I understand.
even helpless
Yeah,
in the face of such sophisticated manipulation.
That's a lot.
How do we even begin to fight back against these shadowy forces trying to influence our opinions and our elections?
I think awareness is the first step
Sure.
towards empowerment.
Okay. So the more we know,
Yes, the more we understand these tactics, the better equipped we are to resist them.
knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Especially in the age of information.
So how can we as individuals guard against this kind of interference?
Mm.
I mean, we're not spies or cybersecurity experts.
Right.
What can we actually do? It starts with being a critical thinker.
Uh,
Don't just accept everything you see online at face value.
Like, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Right. Question your sources, consider different perspectives, and be wary of emotionally charged content.
Which is like everything online.
It can feel like that.
So we need to become digital detectives.
Oh, wait, yes.
Constantly evaluating the information we consume,
Right.
fact-checking everything,
Looking for biases.
and trying to separate the truth from the noise.
it is a lot of work.
It's exhausting.
It can be, but think of it as an investment
And
in your own autonomy.
okay.
The more discerning you are, the less likely you are to be swayed by manipulative tactics.
And like you were saying before, you don't have to do it alone.
Right. There are resources available to help you fact-check information and identify potential biases.
So like websites
Websites, organizations, even browser extensions.
that can help us navigate the digital landscape more safely.
Exactly.
But what about the role of social media platforms themselves? I mean, they're the ones who are profiting.
Right. They're profiting from all this data and engagement.
So surely they have a responsibility to prevent this kind of manipulation.
Absolutely.
What can they do?
Platforms need to take proactive measures
Okay.
to combat disinformation and election interference.
Like what kinds of things?
This includes fact-checking, removing fake accounts, and labeling suspicious content.
Okay.
They need to be more transparent about how their algorithms work
Right.
and how they're addressing these issues.
But it's a constant cat and mouse game, isn't it?
Unfortunately, it is.
As soon as they crack down on one tactic, another one emerges.
It's true.
It feels like an uphill battle.
That's true, but we can't afford to give up.
No, we can't.
We need to hold these platforms accountable and demand greater transparency and responsibility.
Yeah.
We, the users, have a voice,
We do.
and we need to use it to push for change.
I like that.
Yeah,
And as citizens, we have a role to play
absolutely.
in demanding better from our elected officials.
Yes, we need to elect leaders who prioritize democratic values,
Yeah.
who understand the threat of foreign interference, and who are committed to defending our digital spaces.
And hold them accountable.
Yes, we need to hold them accountable for their actions.
And their inactions.
Yes, exactly.
So this deep dive into the Romanian election has been eye-opening, to say the least.
It has been.
It's a cautionary tale, but also a call to action.
I agree.
It's shown us how interconnected we all are, and how events in one corner of the world can have ripple effects across the globe.
It's a reminder that democracy is fragile
It is.
and requires constant vigilance. We can't take it for granted.
Definitely no.
We need to be informed, engaged, and willing to defend it.
Both on and offline.
Exactly.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
What's that?
We're talking about defending democracy in a world where the very tools that connect us can also be used to manipulate us.
It is ironic.
The internet can be a powerful force for good, but it can also be a weapon in the wrong hands.
It's a paradox of our time, but I believe we can rise to the challenge.
I hope so.
By understanding the threats, by engaging in critical thinking, and by demanding accountability from both our leaders and tech giants, we can safeguard the future of democracy.
Okay, so it's a team effort.
It is. It's a collective effort, and it starts with each one of us.
Well said. And for our listener, the next time you're scrolling through your social media feed, remember what we've discussed today.
Yes.
Ask yourself who benefits from this information. What's the agenda behind it? And most importantly, is it true?
Exactly. Don't be a passive consumer of information.
Right.
Be active, be critical, be discerning your vote, your voice, your choices.
They matter.
They all matter.
Think before you share. Think before you react. And keep that healthy skepticism alive.
So important.
And join us next time for another deep dive.
Yep.
Who knows what rabbit hole we'll be exploring then.